Hello and welcome to Chimbo's Gaming. I am Scop, and on a previous video I did a little bit of command line Linux to enable file transfers from your Windows PC to your Linux Steam Deck. And a lot of people told me that it was easier to use some software on both sides, and I disagree. I think it's a lot easier using a bit of command line. So I thought I'd start a series of videos on how to use the command line a little more on your Steam Deck. Maybe you're interested in this, it's useful stuff to know if you ever want to become, say, a programmer, a DevOps, systems, QA, anything really, anything involving tech. Yeah, you're going to need to know a little bit of basics. So I'm going to go through just a few little things. I'm not going to go very basic. I'm going to assume you've got a little bit of knowledge with some command line. Possibly you've come over from Ubuntu, you've used Ubuntu previously as a desktop, and you've not really used the command line so much. But let's go through a couple of things anyway. Let's just go through. So first thing you're going to want to do is, for now, you're going to want the keyboard and mouse. I'm going to set this up differently in another lesson, but for now, we're going to start with some basics. So what you're going to need to do is come down here, open this, and just type in console. And here is your console window. This is your gateway into Linux, or Bash specifically. So I'm going to assume you know a little bit of Linux. So maybe you know commands like pwd, which shows you where you currently are in the file system. And if we type in pwd-help, and you will probably want to use the --help a lot if you're new to this, or even if you're not. Help is very helpful, quite honestly, and this will tell you some things about the command you're using. So pwd-help is print the name of the current working directory. Good, we know this. And then it can tell you some options that you can add, and it will tell you that -l is already added by default. So, and there's some other things you can do for more information. If you type in man, which means manual, and you can also take man pwd. And for this, there is no manual because the help is probably helpful enough. So that's the first thing, pwd, tell you where you are. And then ls, and clear. Clear is also a good command to know, because then you can just wipe everything off the screen. So if we type in ls, and then --help, and this is quite a big help file, but if we scroll to the top of this, it will tell us that it lists information about the files in the current working directory by default. So ls on its own, with no options, will just list whatever is in the directory which pwd is. So simple as that. Maybe you've come from Ubuntu, and Ubuntu has this helpful little function called ll, which if we type this in our Steam Deck, it says command not found, which is really annoying. And ll is basically a alias, which it says up top. We're going through some aliases soon, or now actually, we're going through them now. ll is similar to what Ubuntu ll is. So if we look at the ls help again, we can come to l, and it will tell us that -l uses a long listing format, which is the format that we saw. And there's some other options, there's a lot of other options, in fact, that we can use. And the ones I like to use is the big A, which basically shows hidden files, but it doesn't show the dot and the dot because I already know about them. I don't really want to see them. And some other things like H, human readable, which if we just type in ll again and the L, you will see that these big long numbers, and this is how big a file is in bytes. And that is not particularly, well, human readable. So if we type in ls-lh, then that will convert all those numbers into something more readable, like 6.1 megabytes or 155 megabytes and kilobytes and things like this. So that's one thing. And if we type in the big A, we can see that we now see hidden files. Hidden files in Linux usually start with a dot, and this terminal is color-coded, so anything that is white is basically a file, and anything that is blue is a folder. And these green ones are symlinks to a different folder, which we might talk about in another video. And it's kind of clear, but I like to use this F option, which is classify. or make classy. We'll go with, and that basically adds a slash to the folders, which to me is more clear than just being color coded. And some other things, I normally like to have mine list in date order. So if we have a T, we will see that things are now in date order rather than alphabetical order. And I quite like mine in not just the date order, but in the reverse date order. So all the new things that I've wrote come here at the bottom. So that is quite a long command already, and you probably don't want to be typing that in all the damn time. So we're going to add that as an alias. That is the command that I like my LA to be, and we'll go through alias in this in a second. But there's another thing that may or may not annoy you, is that if you've got a lot of files in a folder and you have it in this list format, you're going to have to be scrolling up and down quite a lot, which might be annoying if you're not actually using a mouse. So what you can do is you can pipe, which means you can send the output into another program, and the other program I'm going to use is less. And if we pipe that into less, that will now show things in pages, and we can page up and page down, or go up and down and look through this. And then to quit out of this, you need to press Q, and that will get out of that. So, and there is no colors there, so we need to add a R. Oh, actually, that's not quite right. So I still want it to have colors. So the extra option we're going to need to add on top of the ls is color equals always, and then pipe that into less with this R, and that will now give us the colors in our less, so we can scroll up and down, and then to get out of that we click Q. So if we just look at less and -- help, we can know a little bit more about less. And I'll actually look what the R actually means. Where is the R? R, raw control characters. Output raw control characters. So the control characters, which are the color codes, will be displayed basically. It's probably not that simple, but for this tutorial, it's fine. It's fine. But this will show you a lot of information on how to actually use less. Less is a very powerful tool, and I am not going through it, but I like to use it just for its pagination quite a lot of the times. And you've got to remember that to get out of less, you need to type in the letter Q, and that will quit. I think there's also some other ways to quit. What does it say? You can also type ZZ. Let's see, ZZ. So capital ZZ, so Shift ZZ. That will also quit out. But yeah, this command is one I like to use quite often. But again, it is pretty long. It is pretty long, and we're not going to be one. Other than if I press upwards, this can go through my history of what I've typed. So that is quite convenient, just to be able to go up and do that. But maybe you're far deep in somewhere and you're scrolling up to try and find that command and you can't find it, so it's not so convenient. So we're going to go and alias these things, one with the less and probably one without. So what we need to do is we need to look at our bashrc, and we are going to use Nano for this, which I will show you in a little. Oh, maybe I need to do Nano first. I'm going to do Nano first. Let me, I'm going to have to change these around. Let's see. I've called it my welcome screen. Yeah, so dot, and then Nano. Right. There we go. So yeah, we're going to go for Nano first and then to aliases. So Nano, if you've never used Nano before, I have showed it in some previous video. Nano is a text editor, and for Nano, we're just going to quickly go to our bashrc file, which is loaded every time we start a terminal session, or console session, terminal, whatever you want to say. And if we go to /bashrc, we can just quickly see that this is where a lot of things are configured for our terminal right here. And as you may notice, that there are no colors in this, and I really hate that. When you use Nano in Ubuntu or Fedora, everything is nicely pretty color coded. And the reason for that, if we just come out of here, and that is Control X, we need to just edit the configuration file. So I'm going to edit this file. So sudo nano etc nanorc -l, and -l on nano gives us the line numbers, because I really like having line numbers on. And here is our nano configuration file. And if we scroll down here quite a lot, somewhere we'll find the offending line. And here, so color syntax in. To include most of the existing syntax definitions, you can do this. And that is exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to come to this line and we're going to delete that hash. And then we are going to click Control and save. And then we are going to click Control and X to exit. And then I am going to reopen my bashrc. So that is this little squiddle, which means our home directory. And then bashrc. And that is now in some pretty colors, so it's far easier to read. And I had the question asked on a different video about using the mouse in here, because people are clicking around and by default you cannot use your mouse. But what you could do is you can click the Alt key and then M, and as you can see just there, mouse support is now enabled. It's not perfect, I would say. It's a little clunky, so you can click somewhere and it will move the cursor. But if you click twice on the same place, it will come up as mark set. And then if you click somewhere else, then it will highlight it. And this is a little bit quite annoying in my opinion. I would like it just to click in this place. But for the most part, I don't particularly use a mouse in Nano. So, but if you prefer to use a mouse in Nano, it is probably easier to get around for some. So yeah, Alt and M. We'll toggle that on or off. Or you can specify this in the command. So if you type in nano, in fact, we'll type in nano and help just once more time. And if we look here, we can send it the -m to enable mouse support. And we can also send it -l to add some line numbers. And there's lots of other different things that you can do to configure this. So if we come here and type in nano -lm and then the .bashrc, bashrc, then we now have line numbers and our mouse click is enabled. So let's just go back to our Nano configuration. F6 or Control W. As you'll see somewhere written here, yeah, this character means control and the M character means either Alt Command or Escape apparently. I didn't realize that. So when you see a command down here which says M-W, which you might not know what that means, M means Alt and W. And this key means control. Control and W. And we're going to search for mouse. So, enable mouse support. If available in system, when enabled, yep, blah, blah, blah. And so all you have to do is unset that, so uncomment that. So a hash is a comment, and you will find in a lot of config files, the description will be in hash, which means it is a true comment, and then something will be written as just a single hash and then a command. And that basically tells you that if you delete that first hash, that will then automatically set mouse as on every time you use Nano. So then again, Control and S, and then Control and X to exit. So now if we edit our bash file, we can just get rid of that and again, just tap in the L, and that should mean our mouse click is enabled by default every time we run Nano. And again, I want the line numbers on all the time, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to find line numbers. So if we do the Control and W, we're going to search for line number, or line N. Let's be lazy. Set line number. Okay, now we're talking. So set line number, again, Control and S, and Control and X. And now I don't need to feed it that command at all. So there we go. So that's my Nano set up. almost as I would use it in most other places. So mouse now works. Wherever you click, there's now some pretty colors, and it always has the line numbers. So let's get out of here, and we're going to do what we were originally going to do, is I'm going to come to our bashrc file, because I want to set up some aliases finally. And there are a number of different opinions on how to accomplish this. Some people like to write these directly in here. I quite like having my things in a separate file. I'm going to see how my Fedora machine does it. I've got my Fedora machine here, because the Fedora machine does it quite nicely, I think. So I'm just going to quickly just cheat and have a see how Fedora does it. Yeah, bashrc.d. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to do it a bit like Fedora. So I'm going to create a new folder to hold some more bash configs. So to make a folder, it is mkdir make directory. So if you just type in that and just a help, and then again, it's going to show, if you type in the help, it is going to show you some different modes and things. For now, I don't think we really need to know anything. So I'm just going to click clear, and I'm going to go make and we're going to call it bashrc.d. Now, the reason I'm calling it that, having a .d on something is a shorthand way to describe what is a directory, basically, and to what it's associated. So it would be very hard to not realize that this folder is a directory that bashrc uses, I would say. So we're making that folder, and if we run ls-l I've forgotten again, AF for now, we will see somewhere that we now have this folder called bashrc.d, and we are going to come into here, into the bashrc.d, bashrc.d, and I'm going to create a file called aliases, basically, and we can do this in a number of ways. I'm going to create the file first. I'm going to use something called touch, and if we again use --help, here we go, touch update access modification times of each file, blah blah blah. A file argument that does not exist is created empty. So this is what touch does, and you'll see this a lot of times if you're using Linux. So we're going to just go touch, and we are going to make aliases.sh. We don't really need the sh on the end, but I think maybe it would be easier for Nano to pick up the what it is basically. So I'm going to call it sh just so it's clear that this is actually a shell file. And then if we just ls or ll-l, you'll see now that this file now exists. Right, let's just do it clear. And I'm going to go nano aliases, and all we are going to put in here is the word alias equals, and then I'm just going to put some quotes in there already, and we want ll to mean, what did I say it was going to be? ls dash l af. I wanted it in the date and the reverse. Let's just save that and go back. Let me just have a quick look. LHAFTR. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to cheat and copy it. I'm going to copy it with the mouse. I don't care. And I'm going to stick that in as LLL equals. And it's probably best to quote this. H. I've changed my mind. I've changed my mind a little bit. I'm going to get rid of these, and maybe I am going to just do some more aliases. So Shift K, cut, and Shift and U to paste. So I can just paste that twice. I don't actually know how to copy in Nano. Maybe there isn't a copy, but I'll have to look at the help because I only ever use the cut usually. And TR. So I'm gonna use those 4 aliases for now, and we're gonna click save, and we're gonna click exit, and if we type that now, it doesn't work. But if we open a new terminal, let's just say console, and again I should change the text size, default text size for this. Type in LL. Oh, didn't work. Oh, I forgot something very important. I have forgot something very important. So we need to source this file first. That was this is super me, but that's Linux. For you, you forget things. So we need to add this to we need to actually add this to our bash rc now. So again, nano dot, where are we? Yeah, we're in the right place. Let's see, dot bashrc. And we are going to come all the way to the bottom of the file. I'm just going to click page down, and right at the bottom here, I am going to put in dot. I spell bashrc.d. That should now source that file. Click save, exit, close the window, come back to console, and if we type in ll, or if I zoom in again, type in ll, and there we go. That now shows me all these things, and if I type in LLL, that will pipe it into less, and I can scroll up and down, and if I click Q, that will exit, and I forgot what it was, LLT. That will then show me things in time order, and if you're unsure of what an alias is, you could type in type, and then type in LL, and then that will tell you exactly what it is alias do. So, that was me rambling on for a long time, probably about irrelevant things, but there is some aliases that you now should know, and if, like I say, if you've ever used Ubuntu, you will probably be quite used to using that LL command, and there it is now back on our Steam Deck for us to use, and I've showed you how to customize it a little more. So if you want to use LLT, then it will show you things in the time reverse order rather than in alphabetical order. So there's just a few basic things for getting around. I've not covered things very deeply, I know, but maybe that helps a few people with a few things. So like I say, my Nano is now set up to run in color. I've showed you how to include aliases in your bashrc, and I've showed you how to use the help a little bit. So until next time, when I go through something a little bit more complicated, catch you another time. Jim Balls Gaming out.